Hi, I'm here with Michael Crewse, and I'm super excited because I just met you like maybe 5 minutes ago. We might be going on 7 minutes at this point.
7.5.
Yeah. I was compelled by one of the stories that I saw on your Instagram page, which I thought was really cool. And now I'm sitting in front of you. So the power of social media, connecting people. So good morning, and thank you so much for being here with me. The thing that I wanted to talk about is going to be kind of the stories behind your story.
Okay.
But before I even get to that, I wanted to ask a little bit about you, and just can you tell us a little bit about you? You have your tagline. I just screwed it up, so I'm just going to let you say it so that I don't screw it up more.
I'm the Army guy that sells and buys homes.
Beautiful. Which means you are a buyer's agent and a listing agent, correct?
Absolutely. I'm a full service, full-time agent.
Beautiful. And how did you come to become an agent?
Story goes, 2019, I was dissatisfied with my current, at that time, my occupation. I was a agency owner with Farmers Insurance here in town. Because I take so much pride in personal responsibility in the people that I work with and work for, the anxiety of, say, a client not having the proper coverage, though the recommendation, the suggestions were there, they wanted to go cheap instead of being properly covered. So I would get phone calls 9 o'clock at night. Hey, Mike, I got a slab leak. Well, then I would go and check their policy, and their deductible was $10,000 because they thought it was better that way. And so it really affected me, and I just was not happy. Going through a process of selling my own home, one of my clients just got her license. I was working with Reliable Realty here in town, in Temecula. And I always like to work with people who are up and coming, who are aggressive, who are ambitious. And this lady, Melina, was that completely. And so I asked her to list my house. Well, she was so new that her broker, Kelly Malone, would attend the listing presentations because she, as a good mentor that she is, a good broker, she wanted to make sure it was done properly. And I had known Kelly through my travels as an insurance agency because I knew she was someone to know in the Valley, as far as be it because of real estate and insurance go hand in hand.
Right.
So Kelly comes to my house with Melina. We're talking. She's going over the not so much script, but going over the listing presentation. And she looked at me with the look that she now is infamous for. At least I think it is. But she looks at you and she said to me, "Why aren't you doing this?" And it's one thing I enjoy because that's my personality. Just cut to the chase. Right?
Yeah.
My dad used to have a saying, don't tell me how the clock works, just tell me the time. Get to the point. And that's Kelly. And I looked at it, I said, I don't have a reason. I don't know why. And so with that, I decided to took the proceeds from the sale of my home, diversified investments and whatnot, but spent a lot of money in marketing. And she suggested to use my military background, my experience with my marketing. And I thought, okay, well, there's a guy in town called named John Butler, who is the bald guy with the red tie.
I love John. No John. Yes.
No John. Right. And I said, okay, well, imitation's the sincerest form of flattery, and it's catchy. I'm the Army guy that sells and buys homes.
Love it.
Right.
It is. It is catchy.
Thank you. It's corny, it's catchy, but as long as you're talking about me and we're having a conversation and dialogue,
yeah, and
then we can just build a rapport from there, that's fine with me.
So obviously that means you have served our country. I'm assuming as being in the Army. I'm going to assume you didn't just decide to use this as a tagline out of the blue.
No. I served. Matter of fact, I graduated high school in Lake Elsinore, 1988. Excuse me. And joined the Army in 1990. Served 22 years.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome. Came home to raise my 3 daughters, who were 8, 6, and 4 at the time. So I'm full-time single dad. I wouldn't change that in the world. So I had to, knowing my love for the military, and if I was close to active duty stations, I would want to assimilate to that. And I knew I couldn't. I knew my time was up. I needed to focus on my girls. And so that's why we came back home, bought a house in French Valley, and just started making memories with my girls.
That's great. I love that. You've been licensed now since 2019, you said, correct? Or that's when you decided to get licensed?
That is September 2019 is when I got licensed.
Wonderful. And the thing that caught my eye was you summarizing, and let me tell you why it caught my eye.
Okay.
Because when you're saying 40 deals in 40 months, not only is that very impressive, the consistency, all of it is impressive, but also the way that you it was simply put in your story. It showed to me that you have such a connection with your transactions. It's more than just a deal. It's not another number. In such a simple story, which lasts, 10 seconds or whatever it was, it showed me that there is a heart there that is connected to the transaction and you're doing something that you love. Wow. So can you talk to me a little bit about that?
Absolutely. Sure. I've had, again, in the post that I made, I've had success. My first $1 million deal not too long ago here in Marietta. I've had deals. I sold my dad's home after he passed. All these things. But one that really sticks with me the most is probably the least amount of commission I made, which is fine. Mm-hmm. It's not about that. It's about giving people opportunities to have their family in a safe, nurturing environment. And it was a family in Hemet, and this is right pre-COVID. And the lady said in a very direct tone, she said, I need a 3-bedroom, 2-bath with a pool. If I can't get that, I don't need it, and it has to be under $300,000. Now, again, this is pre-COVID, so that was doable. So I found the house. It was still being renovated. The thick red shag carpet was still there. It still needed to be painted. Nice. Still needed all those, right? And so I made the aggressive offer. I was really excited for this because this is something new outside of my comfort zone. It wasn't just a cookie cutter offer. So I had to really get into the nuances of the offer, and we were accepted. At the end, we're a successful transaction. We're signing docs at the house, and the gentleman, the husband, is out in the backyard, kind of scanning his property, his home. Mm. And this is a CalHalf type of loan, which, there's assistance with it. There's certain criteria. The FICO score has to be a certain amount. There's 3 different loans. It's very particular. Mm-hmm. And I knew how hard they had to work to get to that point. And there were a couple in their 40s, had children in their teens. And knowing this gentleman, knowing his background, he had trouble as a youth and spent some time incarcerated. And now that he and his wife had this thriving business in Hemet, and to see him knowing what his path was to get there, and seeing him, and he didn't see me behind him, but he said to himself, I can't believe this is mine, with the tear going down his cheek. And so I'm like, got it. And this is my why. And this is my why, because I have the ability to assist that. And that's what I take pride in.
That's incredible. It's such a powerful moment. And I think that's what's so beautiful about what we do, is creating homeowners. Yes. Those moments, like you said, it's not in the commission, it's in the changing of lives.
Absolutely.
And that's what you beautifully said it now, but it shows through in even what you're posting on social media. So I love that. Is there another one you've got for us?
Another favorite of mine. I met this young lady open house, brought in her young, beautiful baby boy in the stroller, and COVID was just coming on. And she says, I need this, this, and this, but I'm not going to buy until September. I'm not going to do it. You can't force me. And I'm thinking, okay, gotcha, whatever. And I'm not the pushy agent. Yeah. Because I don't like it myself, and I will put the wall up quick. So that's how I also do my business. And I smiled and I said, fine. So we communicated and we chatted, and she looked at homes. Well, of course, and this is June. And of course, on a Sunday afternoon at noon, she calls me up and says, Mike, I found my unicorn. I need to see it tomorrow. But these homes at this time during COVID, as we're going in, you had to be pre-qualified, as you should, before you go house searching anyway. But it was mandated. So you had to show proof of that before you got access to the home. and the Avid. We all remember the Avid.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so she understood that. I gave her to my preferred lender at the time, was able to get her pre-approved that night. We saw houses that next day, and it was wonderful. It wasn't the house for her,
Mm-hmm.
but she had this ideal of what she wanted. She wanted the shutters, the white, what are those?
The plantation
The
shutters?
plantation shutters. Thank you. She wanted, it had to have this, and it had to have the quartz. God forbid we have, granite. And so her appetite was a little bit bigger than her budget.
Uh-huh.
And her mom would always join us, and her mom and dad were well off and had a beautiful home in Red Hawk, and that's what she knew of.
Mm-hmm.
And so third house, and she's just looking down her nose at these houses, and not so much looking down her nose, but she was just like, I don't want this house.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the house for me. This is not the house. Okay, fine.
Mm-hmm.
And I finally stopped. I said, listen, I said, you don't have what they have. And I asked Mom, I said, how long you been in your house? And she said about 20 years or
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And I looked at my client. I said, you don't have what she has. This is going to be a beautiful home, whatever we're going to have, but it's not going to be your family home.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those conversations that needed to be said.
Yeah.
Right. It was a not so much a come to Jesus moment, but it was something that just needed to be said.
Yeah.
Because if not, I don't want to waste your time looking at things and have aspirations, and you can't afford it. You're fighting over chicken top ramen after you close the deal.
Mm-hmm.
I have a rule of thumb, and I tell my clients this, that if when I give you keys 2 months after that date, you don't have that same feeling as you did,
Mm-hmm.
then we got the wrong house.
Mm.
We're spending way too much money. This is your life savings. And,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm very humbled by that and appreciative of that you trust me with that. So I don't want you to go into something because you feel like you have to,
Mm-hmm.
right? That have and need and wants are all different. So
Yeah. It sounds to me like that really connects with what you were talking about on the insurance side, where, you have to be able to sleep at night knowing that you
Absolutely.
put somebody in the right property that they can afford, that makes sense, and you're willing to have the real conversations that people need to hear, instead of, even at that point, it sounds like you were still a newer agent at that time. I mean, obviously well established in a previous career, but it's still a newer agent. It could be easy for somebody who's trying to establish themselves in the industry as, maybe just trying to get the sale or trying to get the deal or trying to appease the client. But what it sounds to me that you did in that moment was recognize not just what she wanted, but what she needed.
Correct.
And how she could get there, and you could communicate with her on how to get there. And you did that.
And the house that they live in, they still, or the house that they bought, they still live in. And it's dynamite, beautiful RV parking over there in West Menifee. And it's just, memories are being made day and night. And she has another daughter and a beautiful little girl. And it's just, and it's that house. It's their home.
Yeah.
And where other things might not have been. I showed one house or one family. Goodness, you asked for one story, and they're
That's
all just coming into my mind, and they're all just so uniquely important to me. Had a grandmother that didn't have the FICO score to buy a house.
Mm.
Her daughter was going off to recovery, so the grandchildren were being adopted by grandma.
Oh, wow.
She had the cash. She inherited some money or came into some money, but she had to have her son and her newlywed daughter-in-law go in on the sale with them.
Mm-hmm.
19 houses we showed.
That's a lot of houses.
19 houses. And each and every one was, the emotional equity that comes into play with that,
Mm-hmm.
right? The psychology of sales is really what interests me,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's just the who's and the whys. So after 19 houses, we found the one house in Wildemar that was dynamite, beautiful. We made the offer. We were accepted. And now that family, those 3 little girls, have a place that's safe.
Yeah.
They're going to a school that they can learn from. They don't have to worry about that inner turmoil of what was going on unfortunately with mom.
Mm-hmm.
And that's,
That's stability.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I have, I have no qualms about the fact that I have assisted on certain things to make sure that we get deals done. Have I come out of pocket on certain things? Absolutely. Because at the bigger picture of things is that that house needs to be that with that family, and that family needs to be with that house.
That's amazing. In the past few years, it hasn't been easy to be a buyer's agent, to help buyers, because it's been a crazy market and it's been so competitive. To have those moments where you're helping people who maybe were in a position, or maybe not in the most competitive position, but you were still able to get them into a home. And because it can get discouraging, right? I mean, you said 19 homes, that process can start to become discouraging for any buyer if they're not finding what they want.
Absolutely.
Add that into a time period where it's also very competitive. They definitely need an agent like you who's going to keep them going and confident, and like build them up and be there for them through the process. And then that end result is so much more valuable to them.
Had a teacher, August, again, we're deep into COVID, that was worried about losing their job come September because the unknown. So he was just desperate. And it was one of my first interview questions is, what's our time span? When do we need to? And he's like, immediately, I need this house now. And we were able to do that. We were able to find him. I mean, tears. When you can bring a grown up to that emotion of tears, how do you not feel good about what you do? How do you not, just want to get up and go to work and do those things?
Yeah.
It's just, he was knocked, and it was 3 different times we had set up appointments, and I had, 5 different houses to show him. And first 2 times it was, I'm stuck at the border. I can't make it within an hour of our appointment times. Second time it was, I got a flat tire. I can't. And so, okay, so is he pulling back? So that's something that I need to have a conversation with myself. Is this somebody who's just not interested? And it was that 3rd and final try, and it was like, wow, thank you. I really appreciate. And we would have, a lapse of, weeks of conversation, and be, as we call it, being ghosted. Right. Yeah. And so, but I'm still being diligent with my marketing. I'm still picking up the phone, still communicating with them. Hey, just so you know that I'm still here. And sometimes the conversation doesn't have to be about real estate. Sometimes the conversation can be simply, are you doing okay?
Yeah.
What's going on? Because the life aspect of the conversation gets in the way sometimes. And so if I'm just looking at, as Kelly would say, you don't ever have commission breath.
Right.
Right. That desperation comes, if you're
commission breath, that's
right.
Cute.
If it seems like that this deal dictates if my lights stay on, well, you as that agent, you're going to show that desperation.
Right. Yeah.
And you're going to be forceful, and you're trying to get somebody into that box that they possibly don't need to be in. Just because you're pre-approved for $1 million doesn't mean you have to spend $1 million.
Right. Yeah.
Right? So
exactly.
that's something that's going to be comfortable for your family.
So are you glad you made the switch?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Best decision ever.
It is. I'm able to reward my kids with memories different than we had before. We're able to be comfortable now. I've surrounded myself with like-minded people of faith. That's something that's important to me. And it's hard to really express my gratitude and my humility that people are trusting me with these vast amounts of money. Yeah. That you, my Crewse, are worthy of that. And so I work hard at that, and to keep that, that good, that my name and my reputation is very important. Yeah. It's not for an ego thing. It's that, when people, I just closed a deal the other day, and it was a dear friend of mine from we grew up together, and his dad passed. And so they thought of me to list.
That's huge.
Huge. Yeah.
Well, in the very short period of time that I've had the opportunity to be able to speak with you and meet you, the authenticity and the genuineness that just it comes through. And I can say that anybody who chooses to work with you, I have no doubt that they would be working with somebody who has their best interests at heart and is going to do some really great things for them, because it's clear that your heart is in this for all of the right reasons.
Well,
So
thank you.
I just am thrilled that you took the time to come meet with me here to do this, because like I said, I saw your story and connected with that. And I just felt like that was something that if you were able to speak it, and I was right, if you could communicate that through a story, being able to communicate that with your words would be so much more powerful. And I'm glad that I had the chance to do that with you today. Before we go, is there anything else that you would really love to make sure that you get out, that you could say, that you know, message, whatever?
I would like to share that, and this is something that I've shared with my kids. I want to make sure this is clean, that success is sweeter because of the struggle. The things that you go through, the things that you tolerate and can overcome are going to make the other side of that so much better. Being and having the discipline of doing those financial things that need to be done to buy a home.
Yeah.
There's no better, truly no better feeling that I know of than having your own home.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah.
Yep. As a fairly new homeowner within the last couple of years, I can attest to that. There's just something about that. And then being able to help people achieve that.
Yeah.
And that's what you're doing every day. It's powerful. It's life-changing. It's amazing. And I'm excited that you're out there. You give agents a good name. So.
That's wow.
Thank you for that.
Thank you. That's a wonderful compliment. I thank you so much.
Yeah. So there might be bad agents out there, but Mike's not one of them. Thanks so much
You're more
for
than
being
welcome
here today.
You're welcome. Thank you.